been talking about and presenting, and it's of course absolutely interesting, crucial, fascinating, timely. It's everything you have said. It's very specific to the Indian context, and very specific also to maybe the the states you're going to be concerned with. How are you going to? I have a little bit of an idea of what your response is going to be, but I'm still asking the question. How are you going to convince everyone else in India that this is indeed crucial, fascinating, timely, etc.? And also, how are you going to do that with non-Indian context and so on? Of course, thinking of the international and global context. Why should people outside India be interested in such a project? Of course they should be. I'm totally convinced that they should be. But how are you going to present that argument to them, and why should it be of interest to anyone outside of India?
Right.
A bit of a provocative and devil's advocate,
Tough
type of question.
It's a
very
tough question.
Yeah.
Yeah, please start. But others can also answer.
No, I think this is a significant question. Not just at this moment, but even going ahead with this project, it's going to make a lot of difference to what we have been engaged in. So I think one of the most important factor that should be taken into account is the ephemerality of these magazines. If you look at the kind of projects that have been done in Europe, UK, whatever, and there's a lot that's being done. For example, your university itself, there's a center, periodical center, and they have been trying to bring a lot of attention to these little magazines or periodicals in a massive manner. So and there is purpose why they are doing it, right? So one of the purposes, I think, is the ephemerality of these magazines, especially the magazines that are quite older, which may not have a life, which may not see the life if they're not going to be digitized in the near future. That is one. Apart from that, I think what makes the global audience really drawn towards this idea is also the richness of the content that these magazines have. There are always channels that can be probably drawn as far as certain socio-political histories are concerned across in Europe and in India and all of that. In fact, these magazines bring in those angles in the kind of content that they have produced. When I was speaking about certain influences, I think these magazines have been being influenced by the movements across. So, for example, let us say in Maharashtra you have the Dalit Panthers Archive. So Dalit Panthers Archive, they have their own press, and they have produced these periodicals, published these periodicals, and you may also know that Dalit Panthers is very much influenced by the Black Panthers movement, right? So it will be very interesting. Even Black Panthers, I think they used to have some of these maybe not on a very higher scale, but they had certain magazines to really give a momentum to the movement itself. So that's where I find that for the global audience, there will be enough, you know.
I think you can also add the
And-
the dimension of the present of
Yeah.
now in the
Yeah.
you know
I mean-
2024
Mm-hmm.
because in a country in a country that has always found it difficult to preserve its archives.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
I've been to the state archives in Kolkata. I know
I
what they're
think
like.
he has
So
spoken about.
how are you going to convince people that just let it go to dust? I mean, who cares? And maybe the question of going round through our present, why is it important to us now, and what kind of perspective does it give to us on the days we live through?
Yeah.
So
Obviously I think in your initial, when you began and when we were talking about the production, circulation, and not only with regard to the periodicals in the history, but also the sort of things, the sort of challenges that have been faced by the lower caste press enterprise. I think that's a significant thing there, as far as the preservation aspect is concerned. Very much.
See, one of the very traditional way of going about it is display of the cover. So we start with that always. So if you see the videos of December Carol Fest, you could see that we had different sizes cover posters and almost the similar representation. You can see some of those covers here. We also had tabloid sizes. So we had with the editors' names, how long they were functional and all that. So we did that. Something else we did, which we also called an awareness program. So we thought that creating this website, digitizing is not only the answer. We should make the community aware that these are easily accessible now. So we thought of traveling to as many places in Bengal and Maharashtra as we can. So we did only few, and there we also have the similar display. But we also, started keeping some of the photos of our field work and our lab and how showing the whole process it is. And we also had a system where we tried showing people like how when they get access to website, how to access through the website, the whole process. We invited some of the editors to talk about their editorial experiences. Doing that, we also got some new ideas now, which we haven't tried it out, but we want to. Something like narrativizing some of the things that have been published here. And there are at times even missing issues. We also encountered some problems, though it was resolved, but I believe down the line we'll face it again. Missing pages. It's very irritating. So if you can trace somewhere a complete issue, it's resolved. That's what happened to us. But it can happen again. There's some pages missing. So what we want to try out is a narrative build out of it, linking those gaps and also narrativizing the journey of, let's say, one periodical and its contribution. So we got this idea, and we should acknowledge Jandama's collective. They have been doing this wonderful work. We also got an idea yesterday during our discussion. Is since our resources have been mostly through informal connections, so we can have campaigns within the community with a mobile setup of digitization where we can throw out the news that please bring the materials that you don't want to part with. We will digitize it right there. You can talk about how did you get it. We can get some oral narratives out of it, record it, and we can also get some more material. So these are the two things that we got to know. We want to try it out eventually, and other things that I told. Now you can respond to it and give us some more suggestions.
Then bring me to the question of that, like the process of collaborating with other people who are doing the same work in different regions, maybe not only in the Maharashtra and Bengal, like in Rajasthan.
Yeah, that has been there.
So,
We will be, we have been thinking about it.
did you come across anybody who are doing the similar sort of work in different regions?
Not on
exactly,
Dalit.
yeah.
Yeah.
Not on that.
That's not very surprising.
Yeah.
There had been, it's said the digitization project is anyway recent, but this is not an excuse, but there had been funds available for mostly, there is a copyright thing also, right? So even if you talk about endangered archives, what British Library funds is mostly 19th century, 18th century thing. And what we are talking about is the second half of 20th century. So it doesn't come really under the, so maybe something like modern endangered.
Yeah.
And to digitize that you need to also not only trace this, but convince the people that they will, waive off their copyright and they will permit you to digitize this, make this available. Something that where the legal things come into place, right? So I think we were, lucky, and we got some people who understood the importance of that at this point, because these are endangered after all, whether it's within the copyright period or not, but these are endangered, they're going to be lost. So that's one of our vision, like the nodal center, so to speak. It's
Tell us more about it.
it's actually, it came in a conversation with Nicole and Dalit again during, so the idea that we had and then the conversation happened. So what we were thinking basically is, we struggled already, whatever it is, but we also make a head start, already had done that. We already know the different instruments that you can use for field work, what to do, for your lab, what to do, what are the struggle you're going to face while you're doing your field work. So, and our location right now, since we are using the university server, their space, their technology team, and so we are not doing it on our own personally, we're creating, right? And we already have a facility down there which is with the library staff and the technological staff. So we have a setup. We need, there is of course a scope of improving it. There's a lot of scope, but given the geographical location of Hyderabad, which is almost at the center of India, it can work as a nodal center, which it's just like you can come and we can do a capacity building workshop. We can train you, and then you can also digitize your material. Can take help of some of the staff that we have. We can have that center. But also you would encourage to have some regional centers developed with it. When you, let's say, if you are bringing from Rajasthan, when you go back, so in Jaipur or in Udaipur or wherever you choose, you should have a regional center where you probably house the physical materials and also a facility of few systems where readers, students can sit and access this digital document also. So one center in the probably centrally located in India, and we are also writing that in our website that any language with expression of interest they can contact us, and we would be more than happy to help in whatever way we can. So I'll just add to that.
Yeah.
So there are two things about it. You see, we are talking about thousands of pages, right? So what we are currently looking at, we have been thinking about for some time, is curated volumes. Right? We are not, for example, when we are digitizing right now, let's say 13,000 pages, we are not talking about, so this initial plan is about selections. So that's what the committee is for, that's what we have been doing. So we are making certain selections, the committee is going through it, vetting it. So what we are looking at is 2,000 pages. That's still a lot, and we are talking about manual translations through translators, through workshops. So there is a model about it, which makes it achievable. But it's a group of translators, and then there is an advisory board who reviews the whole process, who goes through it takes around 3-4 months time, but there is a model already. Dalit Comparative Literature and Calcutta University, they use this model, and we are also going in the same way. But that can easily take care of around 1500 to 2000 pages, and it can work. The other one is, which is the bigger project, so to speak, which we're talking about, is where the digitization comes, creating the database which is itself not a PDF version of this, which is a searchable one, right? Which is something like, when you read an English language PDF, you can search a keyword anywhere. Like for example, you were looking for, let's say, one leader from the Dalit community in Kerala who was probably in conversation with Scheduled Caste Federation, right? Now you want to find Scheduled Caste Federation and that person's in that magazine. So we want to create a database like that. And for that we need to translate them all of it into English, which will work like a Word doc, right? Or even a searchable PDF. But for that, it cannot be like the curated version. It has to be like, if you are digitizing 100,000 pages, all of it has to be translated also. And that's when the machine translations comes into place with its other complexities. What Sir was mentioning about the challenges that with which India is going to welcome this machine translation is our own peculiarities and dialects, and so everywhere, in Kerala there is not one Malayalam is spoken, right, and written. So is in Bengali, in West Bengal. So since we are not going to work with English, and then another added layer is this different dialects in which Dalit literature is written, produced. So that needs to be a very customized software. People have tried it. It's not that we are going to contribute for the first time. People have tried, failed, succeeded, and we are also going to have to build that, right? So to work through that. So that's the bigger project.
As you were saying, with the digital versions, the risk, one of the risks is also that the content is going to be produced in relation to that new format, as you were. So it is a form of censorship in a way, not in the usual sense of the term, but there is a kind of changes the content. And you yourself are going to, integrate the change of format so that it has an impact on the content you're going to produce. So this is, it goes very far.
Right?
It
Yeah,
goes
of course.
extremely far.
People that you don't want to read it are more likely to read it.
Yeah.
And digital copy from that, right?
I just want to. Do you have any plans to include it in the curriculum in schools or universities in India or international?
Difficult.
Yeah.
It's very tricky.
You should be asking that to
It's
the
tricky.
chairman. Something on that line, but we are really happy about it that Orion Blackstone and Rutledge, both of them had showed interest to carry out the curated volumes of translation. And they said they think this has a lot of possibilities in university text as well, and we are really glad as some of them came to us when they got to know and approached us. So we think, of course, in university level as a reference level, there is a lot of scope. But
you can produce a textbook in itself that could be used as such, with a selection of journals, of magazines, and then an introduction, a historical contextualization, and then some kind of help with the deciphering the content with a pedagogical intent in mind. That would be wonderful.
But interestingly, translation is also what completes the circle for us, because as we said, it's reading the introduction in anthologies and all, we got to know about periodicals in certain ways. Of course we knew, but this is where they are mentioned. It's the translation and anthologies. Now we are also going to complete the circle in that way.
Yeah. That is true, right? That's where you
Yeah.
read it all the time. And
Mm.
how many journal titles have I seen? Sometimes I read them so often that they become almost familiar, but I've never seen it. Seen
And Satya had been very particular about it, I think, particularly when he's writing about Karnataka DSS in that volume. He has mentioned a lot of them. Karnataka has been wonderful periodicals, Dalit periodical, particularly the poetry that we read, so powerful poetry, Dalit poetry that Karnataka has given us. A lot of it is produced actually on the street in the movements and published in these periodicals. So again, we got to talk to the people from Jangama Collective who are actually safekeeping some of this, and then they had a lot to share about this poetry, which has become songs and very powerful poetry. So it itself is, I think we always talk about Namdev Dhasal, but Karnataka is, it probably doesn't get that translated, but it's wonderful, strong poetry. I think we should read more Kannada poetry, more and more, of course. We should read more poetry anyway.
Yes, but it's interesting, Jangama, right? I mean, they're doing everything obviously in Canada, and I'm always dying to understand it. They're doing fascinating material.
You need a good sales department, to sell. Yeah, I think the only people I know who've done something similar, but they have a great deal of resources, rather than us being so poor. The Punjab Digital Library, this is mainly done by Sikhs, and although it's called Punjab, but their initial focus was on Sikh religious literature. It doesn't matter how old, and they unearthed some real gems, in Karnataka state. Some of the Sikh holy books were found there. I mean, how did they do it? I mean, when they started, they were just the worst of the newer, right? But over the years, they have somehow, made a really good success out of it. I don't know. You talk to them and say, how did you do it?
One of the
Fundraising.
dead ends were like always, you see, when you don't see young students raising these questions. Like for example, I'll tell you about Punjabi Dalit. Some of the things that really fascinates us is Punjabi Dalit literature, Dalit periodicals. If you see, they are available in Gurmukhi and Shamukhi.
Right.
And that is
interesting, isn't it?
Very, very fascinating. Like
Yeah.
it brings in the question of national identity, religious identity, and so many things, right? In the script itself, Shamukhi and Gurmukhi.
Yeah.
And we talk about Dalit Muslim unity and so many things, and it's there. It's there for years for us to see in Punjab, and but when you see that, you cannot always pursue because you don't read the language. So you need people to do it from there, from who are Ravidasi periodicals, for example. It's such a wonderful, periodicals. So these are. That's why we wait for the expression of interest for people to do it.
Absolutely. I got Satnami Poti, the Satnami sect from Chhattisgarh, and there I think there's only 2 copies that survive. One's in India, and one is in Royal Asiatic Society in London. I managed to get a copy, and the introductory part is in Persian, and the other one is sort of Braj Bhasha or Hindi. I couldn't get anybody to read Persian, so it's all these problems. Appreciate it, right?
It unsettles a lot of, notions actually about itself. The Dalit communities, the way we conceive the politics here.
But this also, Bhima Patrika,
Yes.
100 years
Yeah.
it ran for. The editor, I think, died recently.
Bali.
Bali.
Hiraman Bali. Yeah.
It's huge.
You could get it here in UK.
Yeah.
If you give the subscription, right? They would post it to you from a UK address. You know,
Okay.
bundle used to come to somebody's address. It's been done. A lot of stories behind it. Then there was begging for our hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Shall we wrap it up? Is there anything else that you want to do? Maybe clearly we could have made this a two-part workshop next time.
So it's work in progress.
Yes.
As you can see, we have a tab called From the Field, where we have some photos and videos. So right now we are trying to develop the subtitles for the videos. We have interviewed, as Rahul mentioned, 3 editors who are speaking about their journey as editors with the journal, as well as their how they see the journey of the Dalit periodicals in that particular language. So yeah, those are there, and here you can see some of us, and with this awkward thing called some text, which shows that why I was worried about showing you this. So this is like those lofts,
Yeah, that's
sort of thing where people have kept the unsold copies also, as well as
we clean that room entirely.
Well done. That's a service you provide.
So I think
Yeah.
I don't know whether can we make it
So
large.
that is only to say that you will have to be ready. Yeah.
So you see, when we go to field, we carry this kind of an instrument, as you can see over here. Can you see that?
The scanner.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this we also use in the lab. So this needs to be connected with the laptop, of course, which like 2 people needs to operate it. This can scan very fast. It's quite fast, but it needs to be operated manually both ways. And you can use postcard size to tabloid size easily. It has a good capacity. So it comes from Fujitsu. I think it's called Scan Snap. Of course, you can use DSLR also, but that's a completely different system.
And please go to video.
We haven't uploaded them here without the subtitle.
No, but just to show.
Acha, right.
Right.
So-
So
Yeah.
please. That you
yeah,
can
there's-
acknowledge your partners.
Absolutely, yeah.
So the only one that is uploaded here, which is bilingual, and this is Josh is here. Bonnie.
Yeah, formations
Absolutely,
event,
thank you.
which you all know about now.
This was a kind of a build up to our conference. So 1 week before the conference, I think in February 23, we had this roundtable discussion. So one of the persons that Rahul mentioned, Chakravarty Patil, was very influential editor, so to speak, in the little magazine in Maharashtra, 1969. When he was editing, he was also part of this discussion. I think it's the gentleman with the grey jacket and a red tag. And at the left corner bottom, you can see Urmila Paula also. We had a fair representation from Paundra Kshatriya community and also from Chaturtha Duniya's current editor. Somebody was asking me about Oshid.
Yeah, I was asking.
Yeah, so that's Oshid who was also participated, the second from the left top corner. So yeah, there will be the other videos which will be uploaded. This is the bilingual one, trilingual actually, Marathi, Bengali and English, but mostly explained in English. So this is already there. And we will share the link when those some text and other things are resolved. Thanks, Judith, for reminding this.
I always put my finger where it hurts.
Okay.
massive resource. It's available from the 16th of August.
After in months then.
No, that reminds me of something I think we should spend some time on. Is $16 is also very important, and it's a very significant date for all of us. It's seen as Chuni Kotal Day in with us, and it created a kind of all of you are familiar with Rohit Vemula movement, right? The kind of energy it gave us. Chuni Kotal gave particularly Bengali periodical that energy. She was a student of anthropology who was also the first graduate from Lodha community. And she had been harassed for a long time, and she had been writing about it. The mainstream dailies also published her suffering. Magazines published, Maheshweta Devi's magazine, Mortika carried out a short piece called Chuni Kotal's Atma Katha. That was the first time, and she was a prolific poet. She also wrote poetry in different periodicals. And that's why it was a shocking thing when this happened. There was a lot of periodicals that started, getting published. Need and Chaturtha Duniya particularly was starting operating from 94, 92. You see, it's the period from 92 which suddenly gave a new life to the Bangla periodical press, and a lot of them started their publication process around that time. So when we see we were talking about since morning of different phrases and how these phrases were very instrumental, giving certain momentum, like Ambedkar, like Little Magazine. Then again, the 80s we see in Bengal. 90s again is very significant, and we have to always acknowledge the contribution as a student of anthropology she had made already, and her poetry also. I'm just reminded of it. Was a wonderful document of Lodha life, and at times the police atrocities that happened. Lodha was also seen as a denotified tribe, right? So the police atrocities that would happen in 1982 against them, when they will be arrested. So all these have been documented in her poems, and it was a huge loss for all of us. And you have Chaturtha Duniya and Neel in front of you, who started operating, and Chaturtha Duniya's first issue is actually dedicated to Chuni Kotal. So that's why we chose 16th of August in her honor.
I'm wondering, we're only 40 minutes over. Yes. We could slowly wrap it up, right? Because we think we have to be out of this room in 20 minutes. It seems. We could relocate, to somewhere else with drinks. If you would like to. Is there any kind of closing remarks that you would like to? You don't have to.
No, I think we have.
You have been fantastic.
We've spoken a lot today.
But you are just such a resource. You both have so much knowledge, right? It's great, isn't it? But in some ways, research also has to be, you're documenting it, right? So that it's not always you who have to articulate it, so people can go somewhere and absorb this material elsewhere. So, well, thank you both very, very much.
Thanks a
Can we
lot.
give a round of applause?